Hello everyone. So welcome to our new lecture. Now from this particular lecture we are going to study chemical reactions and equation. This is chapter number 3 of science 1. Okay? Now in our previous classes you have studied that the compounds are formed by the combination of elements. Okay? And there are lots of substances present in the earth, and all those substances are made from the combination of elements. Okay, so we represent all those compounds, all those substances by a chemical formula, okay, which is also called as molecular formula. Okay, and we have seen that some kind of change takes place on the substance. Okay, that change may be a physical change or it may be a chemical change. Okay, now if the chemical change is taking place in the environment, we want to represent it, we want to study that change, and if we want to study the change properly, we represent the change in the form of equation. Okay, so in this chapter we will be studying about different types of reactions and how those reactions are represented with the help of a chemical equation. Okay, so before going to the reaction part, let us try to understand what is compound first. Okay, so there are different types of compounds. Okay, and the compounds are nothing but the combination or the mixture of different elements in definite proportion. Okay, if we talk about combination, the combination may be in indefinite proportion and it may be in definite proportion. देखो कोई सा भी मिक्सचर जो है वो एक प्रॉपर डेफिनाइट अमाउंट को मेजर करके तैयार किया जा सकता है, या फिर एक नॉन मेजर्ड क्वांटिटी से भी हम लोग कॉम्बिनेशंस तैयार कर सकते हैं दो सब्सटेंसेस के बीच में, दो एलिमेंट्स के बीच में. ओके, टेक एन एग्जांपल ऑफ भेल. ओके, अब जो भेल होता है उसमें आप नमक डालते हो. ओके, जो मसाला है वो डालोगे आप लोग. ऑब्वियसली उसमें आपको बीन्स देखने मिलेंगे. ओके, ग्राउंडनट्स है, सब कुछ है. लेकिन इसमें जो क्वांटिटी होगी पर्टिकुलर इंग्रेडिएंट की वो फिक्स नहीं होती है. ओके, वी पुट द क्वांटिटी अकॉर्डिंग टू आवर नीड. जैसी हमारी जरूरत होगी वैसे हम लोग भेल बनाएंगे. ओके, हमें ज्यादा नमकीन चाहिए तो हम लोग ज्यादा नमकीन बनाने की कोशिश करेंगे, हमें ज्यादा तीखा चाहिए तो हम लोग उसे ज्यादा तीखा बनाने की कोशिश करेंगे. लेकिन जो कंपाउंड्स होते हैं वो क्या होते हैं, उनका जो इंग्रेडिएंट है उस इंग्रेडिएंट का जो प्रोपोर्शन होगा वो क्या होगा, डेफिनाइट होगा, मतलब फिक्स्ड होगा. ओके, फॉर एग्जांपल कॉमन सॉल्ट सोडियम क्लोराइड. ओके, इसमें सोडियम क्लोराइड के एक मॉलिक्यूल में आपको सोडियम का एक एटम और क्लोरीन का एक एटम देखने मिलेगा. ओके, और ये जो प्रोपोर्शन है 1:1 का वो क्या होता है, फिक्स्ड रहता है, इसे आप चेंज नहीं कर सकते. ओके, और ये किसी के कंट्रोल में नहीं है कि वो उसे चेंज कर सके. सो इन वन मॉलिक्यूल ऑफ सोडियम क्लोराइड यू विल फाइंड one atom of sodium and one atom of chlorine. Okay, so such type of compound, such type of mixture where you will see the definite proportion are the chemical compounds. Okay, now definitely two different elements, that is one is sodium and another is chlorine. These two different elements are combined together to give us the compound. Okay, now the smallest particle of element is called atom. We all have studied that. And similarly the smallest particle of compound is called as molecule. What we call it? We call it as molecule. Okay, so molecule is the smallest particle of any compound. Consider the compound that is NaCl, sodium chloride. Okay, so this NaCl is the molecular formula of sodium chloride. It is the molecular formula of sodium chloride. Okay, now how this sodium chloride is formed? It is formed by the combination of sodium, that is Na, and chlorine, that is Cl. Okay, now Na is a metal, therefore it will have positive charge over it, and chlorine is a non-metal, therefore it will have negative charge over it. Okay, now these two elements are combined to give us the NaCl. So definitely some type of change has taken place for both the elements, and this change is a chemical change. Okay, now some changes are physical changes. For example, ice. Take an example of melting of ice. So if the ice melts, that means the solid state of ice is converted into liquid state of water. Okay, so here the change is a physical change where the change in state is appeared, okay, or observed, but where the change in chemical formula takes place, such type of change is called as chemical change. Take an example of corrosion of iron rod. Okay, so whenever you see that the iron is corroded, that means a chemical change has taken place on the iron. Okay, some kind of oxide, that is ferric oxide, has been formed on the surface of the iron. Okay, so that is a chemical change. Ripening of fruit is a chemical change. Okay, boiling of milk is a physical change where the milk boils and it is converted into a vapor. So that is a physical change, but ripening of fruit is a chemical change. So these are the examples of chemical change and physical change. Okay, now if we talk about the reactions, there are several types of reactions, and those reactions are represented with the help of equations. Okay, so what is a chemical equation? It is the combination of reactant and product. Okay, so let us study first what is reactant and what is meant by product. I will take an example of, let us take an example of formation of carbon dioxide. Okay, now we know CO2 is nothing but carbon dioxide, and definitely it is formed by the mixture of carbon and oxygen molecule. Okay, so when carbon is added to this O2, we will get CO2. Okay, now this particular equation is nothing but a chemical equation. Okay, this is the chemical equation where you will see the reactants and the product. So the molecules or the compounds which are there on the left side of arrow, in a reaction or in a equation, those are called as reactants. They are called as reactants. Whereas the compound formed on the right side of an arrow, is called as product. It is called as product. Okay, so reactants are on the left side and the product is on the right side. In short, we can say reactants are the element or compounds, okay, which are going to react with each other. Okay, the reaction will take place between the reactants. Okay, and when the reaction is completed, we get some products. Okay, we get some new molecular formula or molecules or compounds. So that newly formed compound is nothing but the product of the reaction. Okay, it is called the product of the reaction. Now this arrow is used for so many purposes for writing a chemical equation. Okay, we can use some symbols above the arrow or below the arrow. Okay, we can write some more information about the reaction on this arrow. Okay, we can write the temperature at which the reaction has been performed. We can mention the pressure at which the reaction is performed. We can mention the climatic conditions also. Okay, now definitely These are the molecular formula. Okay, this is the molecular formula. Below the molecular formula, take an example of this. Na plus Cl gives me NaCl. Now this is also an equation, chemical equation, where Na and Cl are the reactants and NaCl is the product. Okay. Now I can write the names of the element or compounds below the formula. So Na, that is sodium. So this is sodium. This is chlorine. And this is sodium chloride. Also, we can mention the state of the element. Okay, in which state all these elements are there. For example, carbon and O2. Carbon is in gaseous state and O2 is also in gaseous state. So that will give me CO2 in gaseous state. Okay, so such type of equation can be written where we can get the idea of reactants, product, the reaction is taking place in which kind of environment, that also we can get from the react equation, and also we can get the idea of the states of the reactant and the product. Okay, in which state the reactant is there and in which state the product is formed. Okay, all this idea can be attained from a single equation. So equations are very much important to study any kind of reaction which take place. Okay, some reactions are natural reactions, okay, that take place naturally. Some reactions are artificial or man-made reactions that we perform in the laboratory. Okay, and to get the clear idea of all those reactions, chemical equations are used to analyze them. Now in the next lecture we will study different types of reactions. Okay, and these types are based on the number of reactants and product. Okay, and change in between the reactants and product. So we will study all those things in the next lecture. This was just the prerequisite for reactions and equation. We will go deeply in this particular chapter in the next lecture. Okay, so until then, goodbye.